how the hell is Anthony Weiner still alive? What do you mean by that? Well, when you go through the list of people that have been close to Hillary Clinton and the Clintons and the death pool, this is not a conspiracy. You got the names of Robert Williams, Conway LeBleu, Todd McKeon. It's 46 names.
Have one of your producers call up one of those families and tell them if they want to be listed in one of these conspiracy podcasts.
You're so sweet.
What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said. They would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took.
When Patrick Bet David and JD Vance turned their attention to Hillary Clinton, the result was less a debate and more a demolition. Bet David's sharp precision and Vance's strong political sense created a ruthless mix that exposed the cracks in Clinton's carefully controlled image. What came next was not only a takedown of her record, but also a breakdown of the myth built around her entire career. For once, the Queen of Reinvention had nowhere to hide, and every illusion came falling apart.
You were Hillary Clinton's CFO in the campaign, right?
It's part of my history.
Were you? Yes or no?
In 2016.
Did you facilitate the payment for the Steele dossier since you were CFO of the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Sir.
Yes or no?
Sir.
Yes or no?
That was not.
You're under oath, Chairman Gensler. Yes or no?
I know. It was not something I was aware of.
I yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
To try to silence him and shut him up. And then consider, just yesterday, one of the chief surrogates of of Kamala Harris's campaign is Hillary Clinton. And you know what Hillary Clinton said yesterday? She said that misinformation should be met with criminal penalties.
Patrick Bet David wastes no time breaking down Hillary Clinton's style of politics as he attacks the illusion of inevitability that surrounded her for decades, pointing out how the Democratic machine tried to present her as America's political destiny. The story was built like a corporate pitch deck with bullet points of experience, endless lists of positions held, and a carefully designed image of being the most qualified candidate in history. But Bet David mocks the absurd idea of equating titles with talent, saying that just because Hillary held every political role short of astronaut did not mean she excelled in any of them. And he tears apart the resume padding by showing how her career was more about staying close to power than achieving real success.
What was Hillary like? I hear she's a sweetheart.
Really? That's a joke,
obviously,
right?
I'm being.
She's very cynical and jaded.
Tell me what you mean by cynical and jaded.
Very practiced, very choreographed, not genuine. Almost an android.
What do you mean by that?
Like, can you imagine talking with her about like human pain and like stuff that you're going through?
Why do you think that is?
Her thirst for power. Her pursuit of power was her raison d'etre. Like, it's the thing that animated her soul. That's why Bernie Sanders caught fire. Because at least he was real. Like, I hate that communist socialist shit. At least he was real.
JD Vance adds to the demolition by taking on the myth of Hillary Clinton's toughness, as the establishment portrayed her as an indestructible warrior, a woman who faced decades of attacks and came out stronger. But Vance flips the story by saying that her toughness was only a mask for cynicism because she was not enduring attacks, but instead mastering the art of playing the victim while secretly carrying out ruthless power grabs behind the scenes. The irony, Vance explains, is that Hillary built her image as a feminist icon, yet depended on her husband's scandals and political machine as the base for her rise. And without Bill, she would have remained a small-town lawyer in Arkansas, rather than the self-declared savior of the Democratic Party.
We're still waiting for accountability on the whole Russia collusion made-up story.
Yes.
Now that DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, has released all of those classified documents, we're actually seeing who was behind all of this. Do you want to see indictments?
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you've got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive.
David shifts to Hillary Clinton's infamous likability problem and mocks the idea that America simply wasn't ready for a woman president, arguing that it wasn't her gender, but her personality. The smugness, the sense of entitlement, and the robotic delivery all combined to make her seem less like a leader and more like a corporate HR manager lecturing employees during mandatory training videos. He paints the picture of Hillary giving a campaign speech where every line feels like a forced PowerPoint presentation, and the audience can't tell if they should feel inspired or just wait for the coffee break. And the humor writes itself as, he says Hillary wasn't disliked because she was groundbreaking, but because she was profoundly unrelatable.
Number 7 is Hillary Clinton. You know what? You think she wants Kamala Harris to be the first female president. Are you freaking kidding me? It should have been me, Hillary, not Kamala. Who is Kamala? Imagine dinner, nobody's around. It's just her and Bill, whatever, in their pajamas. I would assume they're wearing pajamas. I don't want to visualize, but come back to me. Whatever they're doing, can you imagine? Can you imagine if, who is she? Look at the way she answers. Over me, Bill? Over me, Bill?
Vance goes deeper into Hillary Clinton's political record, attacking the way she constantly reshaped herself to fit the moment, because when it was convenient, she was the progressive fighter. When Wall Street donors opened their wallets, she became the friend of big banks, and when the public mood shifted, she suddenly claimed to be the voice of everyday Americans. He points out the absurdity of her campaign trail transformations, where one week she was sipping champagne with Goldman Sachs executives, and the next week she was pretending to connect with coal miners by talking about her childhood struggles. And the contradiction is so obvious that Vance can hardly keep a straight face while describing it, saying Hillary wasn't a leader, but a political chameleon who thought voters wouldn't notice that her colors changed every time the spotlight hit.
That we ought to throw people in jail and silence them if they say something that Hillary Clinton disagrees with. And here's the thing. If you're willing, my friends, if you are willing to throw a person in jail because you disagree with what they say, then you're going to be willing to put a bullet in their head.
Bet David then targets the Clinton Foundation, calling it the greatest family business disguised as charity in modern history, as he paints a brutal picture of world leaders and billionaires lining up to donate not out of generosity, but out of expectation that Hillary's political influence could be bought like stock options. The foundation looked less like a charity and more like a pay-to-play investment fund where access was the real dividend. And the roast hits hard because the facts line up too neatly with every deal, every foreign donation, and every photo op carrying the stench of transactional politics. Bet David rips into the hypocrisy of preaching public service while turning influence into a family business. And then Vance jumps in with the 2016 election, where Hillary's collapse against Donald Trump became the political version of blowing a 28-point lead in the Super Bowl since she had every advantage: the money, the media, the establishment, the polling. Yet still lost to a man who often treated campaigning like stand-up comedy. And Vance mocks the excuses that followed, from the Russians to the FBI to sexism to fake news, with everything blamed except the candidate herself.
I got one of the election supervisors in Manhattan on camera admitting that the Democrats bus people in Chinese and Islamic and Hispanic neighborhoods so that they can commit voter fraud. And a lot of this stuff was, front page news. It dominated the news cycle.
What kind of background check did they do on you? What kind of, are they doing any vetting, references?
They didn't do any vetting. They didn't. It was shocking.
This is a presidential campaign.
Presidential campaign. No vetting. I mean, if they did vetting, then we would have never been able to get that close to Hillary Clinton with a hidden camera.
Well, and were you ever in the same room with Hillary or no?
Oh, yeah.
Her downfall wasn't a fluke, but a reflection of decades of miscalculation, arrogance, and disconnection from real voters. And she wasn't robbed, but simply lost, because she couldn't sell herself outside elite circles. Bet David returns to Hillary's constant claim of moral high ground and tears it down with ruthless energy by showing how she positioned herself as the voice of integrity, while her career was a graveyard of ethical scandals, from Whitewater to email servers, from Benghazi to shady Wall Street speeches, with the Clinton brand always tangled in suspicion. The irony is that Hillary's biggest scandal wasn't a single event, but the endless cycle of scandals that defined her. And Vance sharpens the attack by exposing the emptiness of her feminism, calling out how she used the language of empowerment, while defending Bill Clinton's treatment of women for decades. He shows the ultimate contradiction of claiming to fight for women's dignity, while covering for the very behavior that destroyed it, describing it as brand feminism made for applause but hollow in principle, mocking the absurdity of Hillary, posing as a champion of victims while brushing off accusations against her husband as if they were just political troubles, and concluding that it wasn't feminism, but survival disguised as morality.
Rob, the story I want to start off with is the subpoena story that was just dropped. If you don't mind pulling that up, I don't even know if we have that story because it just happened right now. House panel subpoenas Clinton's and other ex-officials in Epstein probe, seeks files from the DOJ. This happened Just look what time it is right now. 11:01 this morning. If we can read this article, the House Oversight Committee issued subpoenas Tuesday to a slew of former Attorney General and FBI directors Clintons for their testimony case involving sex offender.
Bette David seizes on the irony of Hillary Clinton's obsession with power, despite all her claims of being a public servant, as everything about her career showed hunger for control with every speech, every maneuver, and every alliance carefully calculated not for progress, but for position. He attacks the way she ran for office, not with vision, but with inevitability. An inevitability that collapsed the moment she faced someone she could not outspend or outstrategize. She was meant to prove that the old order still worked, that the establishment could still manufacture presidents in the modern era. But instead, her defeat became the funeral of that very idea. Vance delivers the brutal line that Hillary did not just lose an election, but exposed the fragility of the system she represented, making her the poster child for why authenticity matters even in politics. And in the end, voters refused to buy the product because they could sense the packaging from a mile away.
Hey, this is what's going on. No, that's what's going on. How closely are you following that, and what do you know about it?
I just want to say the fact that the DNC elevated Bill Clinton as one of the keynote speakers at the convention and that they had him running around Georgia, around the East Coast campaigning for Kamala Harris, disgusting. It was political malpractice. Who does that appeal to? He's already been exposed as a sexual predator.
Bette David closes his stretch by striking at the generational disconnect, showing how Hillary represented a fading political dynasty clinging to relevance in an era that had already moved beyond her. Millennials and Gen Z were not inspired by the recycled Clinton brand, but instead pushed away from it. And Bette David highlights how her attempts to connect with younger voters became some of the most awkward moments in political history, from dabbling in internet memes to awkward dancing, to using slang that sounded more like a boardroom pitch. Rather than bridging the gap, she widened it, proving her time had ended long before she admitted it. And the roast ends with Hillary Clinton not as the trailblazer she wanted history to remember, but as the symbol of a political machine that mistook entitlement for inevitability. Bette David and Vance peel back the myth layer by layer until what remains is a career built on power for the sake of power, collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions. And yet the demolition still feels unfinished, with more rubble to sort through, more hypocrisies to uncover, and more illusions to shatter.
So do you think everyone's going to plead the fifth?
No. Someone is going to break and someone is going to get left out to dry. That's usually what happens when you get large groups of it. It happened in Watergate. It's happened since then. There's too many people here. I looked on this list and I sat there and I looked and a name stuck out for me. Loretta Lynch. I'm like, everybody's got friends on here. Does she have enough friends? Or is she going to be the one that says something? Because when you look at this, Pat, you have to just look around. And Pat, you're really good at this. Like when you're trying to decipher a business negotiation through multiple parties and you're looking at, okay, here's the strong one, here's the talker, here's the lawyer, here's the aggressive one. And you're really playing chess. That's what's about to happen, Pat. They're going to go there and play chess. And somebody is going to be a man or a woman without a country. Because usually what happens if everybody goes through is that somebody says something or somebody leaks something, you know. And I looked at that list and I looked.
What do you think they worry about? I want you to look at this list. By the way, this is the list that Epstein victims identified due by August 19th, demanding full, complete, unredacted Epstein files with victims identified redacted by August 19th. Clinton's deposition is scheduled on October 14th. Hillary Clinton's October 9th. Comey's 7th. Mueller's 2nd. Barr is the 18th of August. Alberto's 26th. Session. So this is going to happen the next few weeks.
And look who's first.
Tom.
Slick Willie.
No, William.
Bill. Slick Willie.
No. William Barr is first, August 18th.
Oh, meaning dates-wise. Yep. Oh, I thought you meant the list. Yeah.
No. Who on this list do Clintons worry about?
And as the unraveling continues, what makes the demolition so brutal is its sheer simplicity, because Patrick, Bette David, and JD Vance don't need conspiracies or wild claims. They only need Hillary's own record. Every pivot, every reinvention, and every attempt to dodge accountability is exposed until the so-called political titan looks more like a stage magician whose tricks have been revealed. The illusion collapses once the audience sees the wires, and Hillary's entire brand is shown to be nothing more than wires holding up an empty act. Bette David drives the point home by showing that Clinton's political playbook was never about vision, but about calculation, as she was never ahead of the curve, and never the trendsetter she claimed to be. Instead, watching which way the wind was blowing and then planting her flag in front of it to pretend she led the charge. Vance tears this apart with a calm but cutting tone, noting that Hillary never inspired real loyalty, but instead relied on fear, intimidation, or transactional allegiance. And her legacy is not leadership, but a trail of people who supported her, only because they believed she was inevitable, only to find out she was anything but.
Who are the happiest people? I ranked who the happiest people are that Kamala didn't win. I said number one is probably Hillary Clinton because.
By the way, I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think she wants Kamala to be the first female president.
Absolutely
She's not at Hillary's level.
No.
By the way, there will be a female president. It'll be a Republican.
Yeah,
Just gonna go ahead and throw that out. Yeah.
So that's one. Okay, two. I think the happiest is Joe Biden.
What makes their critique cut deepest is the way it frames Hillary Clinton's career as a slow-motion tragedy of wasted opportunities. Because she was given chances that few politicians could ever imagine with the platform of First Lady, the spotlight of the Senate, the reach of Secretary of State, and 2 presidential campaigns backed by more money and media support than almost anyone in history. Yet she squandered it all. Bette David underlines the irony that her defeats were not the result of sexism or bad luck, but the product of her own arrogance, as she believed her inevitability was a political strength when in reality it became her greatest weakness. Since, the moment people feel they are being told they have no choice, they immediately start searching for an alternative. Vance adds that this arrogance was not just political but cultural, as Hillary spent decades behaving as if America owed her the presidency, and as if all her failed attempts somehow still earned her the title, but the public never accepted it. And the more she insisted, the more out of touch she appeared. Bill Clinton officiated.
Bill Clinton officiated your wedding with Huma, your wife, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So you've been very close, and your wife, is it still wife or is it ex-wife? I think it's separated since 2017, right?
We're separated. We co-parent Jordan, but we're separated.
Okay. And, you know, she was a right-hand person to Hillary Clinton in 2016 while the scandal was taking place.
For years before that, she was with Hillary for, she's 20 years.
And the whole thing with the life insurance, you know, the email, 650,000, the one folder with the word life insurance and the files that are in there. So the next thing that people said you got to ask him is the following. So, you know, Rob, if you can pull up this story, I'm not going to buy into this one. Well, 9 out of 12 cops, NYPD, who saw the email and saw what was in that laptop, you know, committed suicide. And it was, you know, 7 of them since June, and it was the most ever that this took place. And these are the men that committed suicide.
What emerges from their takedown is the portrait of a politician who had every possible advantage and still lost to people she openly considered beneath her. First to Barack Obama, who was younger and fresher, and then to Donald Trump, who was louder and bolder as the image of inevitability was shattered twice. Yet Hillary still clings to the belief that history got it wrong. Bette David and Vance slice through this delusion like a hot knife through butter, showing that history didn't fail Hillary, but that Hillary failed history, and the strength of their destruction lies in stripping away the excuses to reveal the truth that her downfall was not a conspiracy, but a matter of competence, or rather the lack of it. All the consultants, pollsters, think tanks, and focus groups couldn't hide the fact that at her core, she was uninspiring. And Vance drives the most devastating point by noting that America does not reward those who try to win by entitlement. Their roast builds to a brutal climax as Bette David and Vance leave the audience with the image of Hillary Clinton as the ghost of a political dynasty, wandering the stage long after the play is over, with every attempt to remain relevant feeling like a reminder of the role she never truly earned. Her memoirs, speeches, and endless reappearances on talk shows all sound like someone auditioning for a part the casting director never wanted to fill, making it desperation disguised as gravitas, and Bette David and Vance expose it with relentless clarity.